I want to show you how to build this particular form right here, and my major target for this is how we can create this box right here that I kind of split the background into two like this line that we're seeing right here. As you can see, the top right here has a different color than the one down here, not necessarily the input fields that I put on it. Alright, so this is all about diagonal splitting. Alright, so I want to show you guys how we can build this right here. And of course, I'm not trying to show that I'm the best designer or something of that nature, but it's something that I feel like I need to like bring to the community in case of those of you who are just starting out and you want to build something that looks like this. So this is how it is done. Let's first of all let's create a folder right here. I'm going to just basically call that, let's call this diag form, which is just short for diagonal form. All right. So let me open this up with my Visual Studio Code. So if I right click on this and go to, let's go show more, and I want to open that up with my Visual Studio Code. So I got nothing inside of it as of this time, so let's create a new file inside of it. I'm going to just call this index, and it's going to be .html, and I'm going to just use this same page to create everything that I want to create, even the CSS. Of course, if this were production application, it would create a different folder for your CSS and then put the file inside of it. All right, but this is just for demo purpose. I'm going to just generate this HTML boilerplate by just simply pressing an exclamation tab, and if I hit tab, it's going to generate this one. So if you don't have a Meet installed in your Visual Studio Code, feel free to pause the video and type this out. So this is going to be a diagonal. Let me just call this split form. Something on that nature. So on getting down here, I'm going to go ahead and then create something like H2 right here, and I'm going to let's just do a login right here, and down underneath this, I want to go ahead and then create that particular form. So let's do form right here, and we can just go ahead and then generate this form that we do have in here. All right, and basically inside of it we're going to have to create our input. But what I want to do now, I think I will just basically want to get rid of this first of all. Maybe at a later time I'm going to come back to that. Let's focus on the box itself. I think it will make that a lot more understandable. So let's create a div right here and then give that a class, and let's say that the class is actually going to be something like login box. So let's call that login dash box, and we can just close out this, and I want to make sure that this is inside of that. All right, so if I cut this, and basically even the form that I'm going to just create at a later time is still going to be inside of that div that I just created. So let's try and throw this in right here, and this is just basically what we have right here. So I want us to go ahead and then try to see if we can just basically create that particular box that we are just basically trying to create, and that's basically my major focus on this video that we're just working on right now. So how do we do that? Let's see what we can do. We can go up here, and then if we do style, this is just an inline styling right here. We can write our CSS style within this particular place. For instance, if I do body right here, I'm going to just do body, and let's say I try to change the background of the whole body of this web page. Let's say I'm going to just set this to something like EC, like that. All right, so we should have background right here. Sorry about that, guys. So it's going to be background, and we can set that basically to that particular color right there. So if we save the changes, I want to take a look at this, how it's looking so far in my browser. So if I go right here, sorry about that, I think it's already on my desktop. Let's open this folder up and do have this. And this is just basically what we have right here. So we can now work on our box on here, but let's throw in a couple more styles for the body right here. So I'm going to just do a display, and the reason that I want to do that is just for I can get a little help with centering that particular box. So I'm going to just do flex, so everything in the body is going to be displayed as flex right there. And down here I'm going to just do justify content. I want to center that, so let's do center. And then after that, we want to do align items. So this is going to be align dash items, and I want to go ahead and then set that to the center of the web page. So this is still going to be center. And after that, I want to give this a height. This is going to be a height, and I want to set the height to 100 VH. And I'm going to just do that right here. And this VH is just for viewport height. What I'm just trying to do is to make sure that, so whatever content that comes into the body, I want to be sure that I kind of push it to the center of that particular place. That's why I'm doing this to the body of my script right here, or of my web page. All right. So for instance, if you save this right now, then let's take a look at that. You're going to see that this is going to get pushed to the center of this web page. Move a. So if I refresh in here, you see what is just basically going on right here. So that's a kind of a push that stuff in there, and that's just fine. I want to like see the form at the center of the web page. All right, I mean at the box first of all. If you take a look at here, I'm going to see that this box is really at the center of the web page. So that's just basically what I'm just preparing the environment for. Let's go back to this environment, and I want to work on the font family. So this is going to be font dash family, and this one is just optional. You can just do whatever you like. That is a default font family for every application you create. So I'm going to just do Arial, and I want to combine that with only sans serif right here. So this is just basically what I want to use. We can terminate this right here, and that's just that for this particular font family. Look at that right there. So the next thing I want to do right here is I want to move on to this section where we do have our login box right here. So let's start styling that. If you want to do that, it's a class, so we can do dots login box right there, and then we can just throw in our curly brackets, and let's first of all give a width to that particular box right there. So if I do 350 pixel right here, and just to be sure that we kind of see what is happening, let me just do a border, and I'm going to just do 2 pixels right here. I just basically want to see how much that is. I'm kind of not seeing that. Are you sure? Okay, I think I need to give this a type. This is going to be solid, and you can give that a color of, let's say it's going to be red. I'll save the changes, and if we take a look in here, all right, so this is what we're working on right now. I'm going to take away that border at a later time, but just basically want to just keep seeing that as we move along. All right, so let's also give this a height. Let's say that the height is going to be set to 400 pixels, and I would like, of course, the height is going to increase. I want to show you that. And this is how it's looking now. That's fine. Now the next thing is to curve the edges. So with something called a border radius, you can curve the edges of a box like that. So this is going to be radius, and I'm going to just basically set that to maybe 16 pixels or something of that nature. So if you're not happy with the amount of pixels that I use for the radius, you can change that. Let's take a look at that. I see that the edges are just a kind of a curving, and that's just what I use to curve the edges on the original right here. You see that? So that's just what there is right now. So the next thing I want to do now is to go ahead and then give this a background. All right, and with this background I'm just talking about, this is just basically where I was able to work on this split right here. This thing, I was able to give like 2 background right here. All right, so you want to pay attention to that, because that's just the major thing I'm just doing this video for. If we go back to our development environment right here, and I get down here, so the background, let's just do background right here, and I want to go ahead and then use this particular property called a linear gradient, and within this, let's terminate this line first of all, and we have the power to like decide. Now what I want to do, of course, what we plan to do is to see how is it that we can use 2 background colors for this piece right here, right? So with this particular method called a linear gradient right here, we can just kind of give this 2 colors. You can use 1 color if you want. Like for instance right there, if I try to, let's say I'm going to give this my first background right here, and let's see that the background is actually going to be, I think the color we used was actually that should be 66000, like that. So if we save the changes right here, and then we refresh the page, you notice that the color kind of covers the whole page. All right, and even if you think that if we split this, let's say you want to make this something like 50% right here, and then save the changes, that is going to just take only 50% of that space. It's not just basically going to take, it's going to assume the whole position, all right, the whole space that are actually available. But if you want to set the second color right here, you can introduce a comma in here, and then let's say we want a second color that's just basically going to be that gray that we had in there. So this is going to be F4, 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 like that, and then let's save the changes. So let's see what is going to happen. We're going to have 2 colors now. See that we do have like 2 colors on this page, and I think the background isn't actually really correct. Okay, we need to do 50% right here, right? Let's save the changes, and then it's going to just divide that into 2 equal sizes. All right, so the first color or background takes the upper side, and then the second one kind of takes the lower side right here. And if you want this particular one to a kind of let's say we want to make the top one a gray kind of a color, we can just maybe interchange the positions right here, introduce a comma. If you save the changes, look at what is going to happen. This color will come down here, and then this one will go up. So if I refresh, you see what is happening, right? So that's just fine, and probably I'm quite sure that that's not just what you want for now. And let me take this back. All right, so this is just what it is right now. What we want to do is want to compare the 2 right here. We want to see how we can get this exactly. So how do we do that? Of course, let's not forget this 50%. I think I've taken that away again. So this is what it is right now. I want to show you that one more time. This is what it is. But now, how do we decide this angle right here, this angle that we have on the original? So if you want to split that in such a way that you should go on this diagonal right here, you can just put an angle that's just basically going to give you that. So let's say, for instance, I want to just, you have to put that as the first value right here. So it's going to be angle 130, maybe 36 degrees right here. This is going to be DEG. Introduce a comma right there, and let's see what it's going to give us. All right. So I'm going to use this right here, 136, to see what it's going to give me. So if we refresh here, you see that it transformed that to this. All right. So that's just basically the secret behind what I just did there. All right. And if that's just basically maybe what you want to learn in the video, that's just fine. You can just stop the video right here. All right. So let's make that 130 degree. And just to make sure, for refresh here, I think it looks a lot more perfect, just like the original right there. All right. So I think it's okay, just that way 130%, I mean a degree should be just fine for what you want to do. All right, so I want to throw in a little more styles to this stuff right here. And I'm going to just, let me copy a few lines right here. It's just going to be this, copy that, and I want to put that down here. All right. And what I want to do, of course, this display flex is okay. I need that on this particular login box right here. All right. And I'm going to just need the justify content set to the center, align item to the center. But before then, I think I need to do a flex direction right here. So let me do flex dash direction, and I want to just go ahead and let's set that to be equal to colons. All right, so let's just go ahead and just do colon like that, and that's just what I need on that particular line. All right, so down here I want to sorry about this. What did I even do? I think I added this to the tab. That's not the original place I wanted to add that. I wanted to just add it to this right here. That's just where I wanted to add that. So let's make sure I add it to the login box right here, and that just should be fine. All right, so let's save the changes and let's take a look at our design so far. Okay, so all right, this is how that is really looking now. We'll do a couple of things down here. All right, so if we get down here, what I want to do now is, let me just go ahead and then try to the first thing I want to do now, let's go ahead and then just give this a box shadow. So it's going to be a box shadow, and I want to set it to the following box shadow. All right, so I will just give this 0 pixel at the first place right here, and after that we're going to have 8 pixels, and we're going to also have a 20, this is going to be 20 pixels right here. Let's make sure we type that correctly, 20 pixels, and then I'm going to give this an RGB value right there, so that I can just give that a background and also try to get like an opacity to the background. All right, so from here to here just the background, but the A right here is just for the opacity. And let's try to set that. I'm going to just set that to 0 or true, and the final value or the last value right there is going to just be the opacity. So we can just do 0.8. That's just all about 80% of the opacity right there. All right, so we have that, and after that we're going to set a padding. Let me set padding right here. This is going to be padding, and I'm going to set the padding to 20 pixels all around, and the final thing is just going to be the position right here. So it's going to be position, and I want to set that to relative. This is going to be the relative position right there. Let's save the changes and take a look at what we got so far. So if we refresh in here, and to me it appears like this, the size of the box is just getting out of hand. And I don't think maybe okay, I think we copied the height down here. All right, that's a mistake. We needed not to copy. I really needed to just copy these 3 lines when I was trying to copy that. So as you can see, we copied a couple more things that are really wrong in here. So this is just basically how it should be. If we refresh, it should come down to the original space. And now you can see the opacity has been added right here, and that is a color to the shadow in there. So let's use this opportunity to take away that red line in there. So this is going to be coming from this border right here, and then save the changes. So all right, it looks more like the original. If you take a look there, you're going to see that the shape, they kind of look almost the same, right? So down here, let's work on the let me take a look at what we're having here. So we do have H2 right here. So we want to work on that, and to work on that, if we go to, let's go up here a little bit. So this is going to be a dot login, which is the same class we'll have up there, but then we want to reference to the H2 right here. So we're going to just do H2, And what I would like to do with the H2 right here is, let me first of all set the color, and I want to use white color right there. So if we do this right here, it's going to give us a white color. And then after that, we're going to just do a margin button, and I want to just basically set that to 30 pixels. So this is going to be 30 pixels. And then down here, we do text align. We'll center that particular text right there. And that should just be it on that. So the next one I want to work on now is to see how is it that we can actually work on the form. But then if you take a look in here, you see that we don't even have the form just yet. So let's add the form down here. And if we want to do that, we're going to just do, I'm going to just do FORM right here, and we can just hit tab, and it's going to generate this for us. So within this form right here, we just need a couple of fields in here. And let me take a look at what we got right here. So we need a username and then a password field to get added right here. So if you want to do that, it's really very simple. So it's going to be an input, right? So let's go ahead and then do that right here. So we have we need to create an input right here, and we can set the type. Let's set this to type. So about that is going to be type, and then we'll set that to text. All right, and we can just, if you want to give this a name, that's just fine, but I'm not just going to give that a name because I don't think I'm going to just have I'm not going to hook up with the backend right here. But if you want to add that, that's just fine. So let's just go ahead and just do username. Let's do username right here, and that's just the field that you're going to just basically enter your username. So we can make that required just to make sure we force people to type something in there, even though it's still not really necessary, guys. So the next one is going to be input fields, and I'm going to just do type right here, set that to be equal to, this is going to be a password type, right? Let's do that right there, and we can do a placeholder, and we'll set that to be equal to, this is going to be password. Let's just call that password, and we can also maybe still make it required right there. And that's just basically the two fields in there. We're going to need a submit button, right? So if we get down right here, we can just do input and just do a type right here, and we can set that to be equal to, this is going to be a submit, so we'll do submit right there. And then the value of the text we want people to see, we can just do value and set that to be equal to, and we can just say something like, let's say login. All right. Of course, you can add name attributes to all of this if you want to hook up with something like backend or even something like JavaScript. All right, or IDs. You can add IDs right there. So let's save the changes and then take a look at that from our browser. So if we get back in here, and this is how they are really looking for now. So we can throw in a couple of styles to make sure that we kind of make that look a little bit beautiful. All right, so the first one we want to do, let's work on the form first of all. So down here we can just do dot login box, and then we can just do form, and we can use that to just basically work on the form on that page. So let me set a width for this first of all. So the width right here is just basically going to be set to 80%. So that the percentage is going to help for responsiveness. And then if we do that, we want to set the display. I'm going to just do display right here, and I'm going to set it to flex again. And then if we do that, we're going to just do display direction. Sorry about that. It's going to be display dash direction. Is it actually called a display direction? I think it's actually called flex direction. Sorry about that. This is going to be flex direction, and then we can just go ahead and still set it to flex right there, and then we can go ahead and set it to column right there. All right, so we have that on that particular place. So the next thing, I think this is just basically all I need for the form in here. Now I want to move on to the input field, but let me just take a look at how this is looking so far, guys, for refresh here. And okay, things are really coming together almost. It looks like the original now. So with the next one, let's say, well, if we do a dot login box right here, and I want to work on the input field this time around. So for that reason, I'm going to just create a space and just do input, and that's just basically what I'm going to need right here. So let's throw in a couple of styles for the input in here. We're going to have padding just to create some spaces within the elements. So this is going to be inputs, a padding, and I'm going to set that to 12 pixels by let's make that by 15 pixels, guys. And after we do that, we want to set a margin button. So this is going to be margin dash bottom, and we'll go ahead and let's set that to 20 pixels. So this is going to be 20 pixels, and then after that we can set a border. I'm going to just remove the border of the text. So this is going to be set to none if you want to remove all those borders. I'm just trying to refer to all these lines right here, all right, by removing the border. So if we save the changes in here and I will try to refresh here, you see that that's kind of removes the borders around that particular stuff right there. That's it, guys. And the next thing I want to do, what if we curve the edges of this right here? All right, how is that going to look? So to do that, we do that with a border radius. So this is going to be radius, and let's say maybe I'm going to just use 8 pixels this time around. And if we do that right there, we also need to work on the font size. Of course, you know what that does. And let's say that the font size is actually going to be maybe 12 or maybe 16 pixels. Let's do 16 pixels, guys. And after that, we can do opacity, and I'm going to just basically set that to maybe 0. Let's do that 0.9. Sorry about that. It's going to be 0.9. You don't need a unit in there. So let's save the changes and let's see how it's looking. All right, it's coming together, guys. If you don't like this opacity, you can maybe remove the opacity completely. All right. For instance, if we take this away and we'll take a look at these, you see that the opacity has been removed, but the input field, they kind of look just fine. So this is going to be code kinder. And for the password field, you can just put the password right there. And this is the login down here. So we want to work on the login, right? Let's bring in the opacity in case some of you may need that. So I got that back. And to work on the input, the submit button down here, we can just do, if we do login, so about this is going to be login box. And I want to reference to the submit button, right? So for that reason, I'm going to just do input and then throw in my square brackets right here, and I'm going to just do a type. I just want this to like a kind of a reference to only the submit button. So I'm going to just do submit right here, so that the styles I'm going to be writing is just going to be referring to that. And the first thing just to test is just, let me change the background, and I'm going to set it to the same background we got right here. All right, so I'm going to just take these, and if we go down there, I want to use that as the background. So let's terminate, save the changes, and I want to see whether that comes in. All right, so that came in just fine, and that's fine. We can make that look a little bit shorter instead of that it's just taking right now. So let me first of all, let me change the color right here. That's the color of that particular submit button. So we can change that to white. This should be able to give us white. And the font weight, so we're going to have font weight, and maybe we're going to just set that to bold or bolder, whichever one you want to use. So that is just sit on that particular place. We also want to have cursor effects. So if I do cursor, is it really called a cursor? I think that, okay, yeah, that's just basically called a cursor, and then we can just change that to a pointer. That way, if I bring my mouse button too close to it, it's going to look like a human hand kind of icon like that. And we can add transition to this. So this is going to be transition, and I'm going to just do background right here, and we can just go ahead and just say maybe in 0.1 seconds or 0.3. That's fine. And let's do a width. Remember that all of this I'm just doing that to for the submit button right there. All right, if we change the width maybe to something like 40%, that won't be too bad. So this is going to be 40%. I don't want it to take 100%. And let's save the changes. And if we take a look at here, okay, that is really working, but it got floated to the left. We can just use margin to push that to the center. So if we do margin right here, and let's set that to auto, save the changes, and you should be able to push that to the center. Let's refresh, and that comes back right here. So I think this looks just fine. The next thing I want to just do is to maybe work on the hover effect, because I think that the first one we did had a full hover effect. When we bring our mouse button to this one, to change background, all right? And to do that, I'm going to just basically copy this, and let's duplicate that, paste that down here, and I'm going to just do colon and just do hover right here. And what I want to do is just really very simple, maybe to just change the background. So let's do that right here. It's going to be this, and we're going to just do background, and I'm going to just change that to, I don't even know the background. I'm going to change that to right here. All right, let me just use maybe red, I don't know, or whatever. Basically go ahead and then use whatever background you're going to use right there. So I think it's not going to make any, okay, I think it's good anyway. It's not all that so bad. So this is just it. I think I'm going to just basically stop right here. I just basically want to show you guys how we can create this split right here, and then do a couple of things in here. So you can just modify this to suit whatever you are building, and even change it to some other kind of styles. All right, so I did got an inspiration for this from one group right like that. I didn't remember to keep the guy's name, but you know, that's just the stuff I could have just loved to give him a credit right here. Even though what he built wasn't just a form like this, but he built something that looked like, I was able to see a split of background like this. I thought it was an image initially until I had to go and do some research and then discover that gradients can actually do that. All right, so thank you guys for watching, and then if you like the video, just feel free to give the video a thumbs up, and if you have any questions, go ahead and then drop that on the comment section. Thanks for watching.